Right, okay, so there is a bit to discuss in today's video. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James. The channel that brings you your team every single day. Please smash that sub. We finally got an apology from the chairman as he finally came out of his hovel or his hiding hole, wherever he's been for the last few weeks, and talked to the fans. Well, I say talk to the fans. He issued a statement. He hasn't got the courage to actually meet up and talk to the fans, in my opinion. I can't even remember the last time that John Bennett actually came out publicly and actually spoke to the fans. Probably January last year, January this year, maybe, when he was actually misled the press, misled the fans over back in Clermont in January. We've got comments from Phil Clermont as well about players who've arrived in the summer, about them not being ready for first team football as well, which may prove disappointing to many. So we've got a fair bit to get through, and unfortunately, again, most of it is not particularly positive. To me, look, this club, I look, I don't know what to say. I genuinely, you know what? I sit here night after night, day after day, and I talk about this club because I love talking about my club. I love talking about our club. I love talking about Rangers because this is the club that I've loved for, so I don't know, over 40 years now. Well, no, just under 40 years, about 38 years now to be precise. 38 years. And it's just frustrating, absolutely frustrating. You know, you want this club to move forward. You want this club to get back to where it belongs, back at the top of the Scottish game. And you know, I don't want to talk about who they've signed or not signed. Who are they going to sign, and where are they in their preparations, and what have they done? I'm not interested. I genuinely could not give a flying what's it about what they've done. I'm only interested in what we've done because at the end of the day, we have to make sure that our destiny is in our own hands and we are not depending on what they do. You know, if we are depending solely on the fact that Celtic will not strengthen to a substantial, a substantial rate, or that Celtic will not strengthen enough for us to be successful this season, well, that really does show where we are as a club. You know, it really does show that we, are just, I don't know, not fit for purpose at this moment in time. Now, I struggle with the headline for this video, for the title for this video, for the headline, for the thumbnail. You know, there's a number of different things that came into my mind, most of which weren't particularly clean. So I didn't want to do those because I knew that would not, be happy with YouTube, would not be happy with me being truthful about my actual feelings and the actual words I probably wanted to say. Well, where to start? Well, let's start off, first of all, before we talk about what Phil Clermont had to say, and it's some very interesting things about when and Ciala and Igman will be ready and how we're not particularly going to sign anyone, not in the near future. About what four lads may say. This is from the manager, not from some fan organisation. Okay, so what did he have to say? What did John Bennett have to say? Well, look, he talked about the fact, overall that we're in the final stages of negotiating to use Hampden. He finally issued an apology, which is, long overdue. And, he talked about the fact that wanting to be able to speak with some certainty. Well, you know what, John? It doesn't take a lot of certainty to come out and actually apologize for the farce that you are currently conducting. It doesn't take a lot of certainty for you to come out and apologize for the debacle that is this stadium. It doesn't take a lot for you to come out and apologize for not actually doing your job. It doesn't take a lot for you to come out and apologize for letting down the season ticket holders and the fans of this great club. It doesn't take a lot for you to come out and apologize for exploiting the fans and taking them to be dumb money trees that you can just expose at any point you want. That's what you really need to come out and apologise for. Well, this is what he said. This is what John Bennett said. Take from this what you will. We'll discuss this after I've read the statement. So he said, first, I'd like to apologise on behalf of the club for the uncertainty that this delayed project has caused to our season ticket holders, hospitality clients, partners, and the wider support of this football club. You notice the wider support of this football club is left to last after, of course, hospitality clients and partners. We can see where his priorities lie. The number of variables in this situation has made it extremely difficult to bring the one thing we crave, certainty. Yes, but it doesn't stop you from coming out and apologising, does it, for the farce that you are currently causing? Not necessarily to say we are going to Hampden, not necessarily to say we are negotiating to get this, just to come out and say we are sorry for the fact we have been fucking useless. We apologise for the fact we couldn't run a bath. We apologise for the fact that we are utterly hopeless. Nevertheless, we are closing in on the most immediate solution, a suitable venue at which to fulfill our fixtures and house our support. While the ongoing delay means that the club is unable to fix a date for our return to Ibrox, we anticipate that this will become clearer upon the delivery of necessary materials to Glasgow. So 2 things to take from that part of the statement. Number 1, there is no fixed return to Ibrox set. So it's not going to be September or October. We simply don't know. And it looks like the October deadline is looking increasingly more likely, or the end of October, which, considering the league programme, the Champions League qualifiers, is utterly and wholly unacceptable. Also, it shows as well that the materials have yet not fully arrived in Glasgow to undertake this building project, which shows the absolute ridiculousness of the organisation of this building programme by this club. The fact that the people responsible for overseeing it are not fit to do so. The fact that blaming someone who has left is an easy to scapegoat. The fact that as chairman, you are responsible for running this club and overseeing all that goes in on it, and you have failed to do that spectacularly, Mr. Bennett. Rangers thanks to Scottish FA and the SPFL for their strong support in working to this solution. The club wholeheartedly appreciates the continued patience of our supporters while we work through the most trying of situations. I intend to give a fuller personal statement by the end of July. So yet more comments of just basically, we need to wait for longer for them to sort their fact out, wait for longer for them to finally realise what part of them is their arse and what part of them is their elbow. Something that I think the Rangers board really do struggle with, knowing their arse from their elbow. I've got to say that whilst this statement is welcome from the aspect of the apology to fans, to season ticket holders, and to others, the whole nature of this statement and the continued debacle and the continued farce around the stadium is wholly unacceptable. The continued ridiculousness of this situation is down to the fact that this board, as a group of individuals, are genuinely not fit to run our football club. John Bennett may be a Rangers fan, but he clearly has no talent for being chairman and, in effect, CEO of Rangers Football Club. The fact that the Park family are still involved with this club is an absolute disgrace after Douglas Park, as chairman, allowed the legacy of 55 to be thrown away, along with his incompetent CEO, Stuart Robertson. This is a situation that is wholly of the board's making. This is a situation that the board need to take full responsibility for. Now, there are obviously questions about, well, what would you do if this board did resign? What would we do? Look, what I want is quite clear. And what I've always said is I want a board that care about our fans, a board that treat our fans with respect, a board that treat this club with respect, something that John Bennett and his cronies are singly failing to do spectacularly, absolutely spectacularly. It is an utter disgrace how they are running this football club. It is an absolute shambles. Their management style and their control of this football club is more in keeping with the running of a non-league football team rather than a professional football club, one of the biggest clubs in the whole of the world game. I don't know what else to say. I know some of you won't like that, and I know some of you will want to shoot me down over that, and that is fine. But until, as a fan base, we unite and we call this board out for what it actually is, which is an utter shambles, a board that is not fully backing its manager, a board that is not interested in being successful, a board that is not interested in winning trophies as long as money comes into the club, which continues to line their pockets. That's all they're interested in. Whilst mediocrity pays, they're happy. They don't want to speculate. They don't want to put a risk out there to try and get this club back to the top. It's not in their interest, is it? Not when they're making money from mediocrity. That's where we're at. I'd love to know what you think. Personally, I think the board are a disgrace. I think John Bennett is a disgrace. I think the Park family, the Park Junior, is a disgrace. I think the way this club is being run is an utter disgrace by this board, and they need to go and go now. Right, let's talk about what Philippe Clement had to say as regards to certain players and certain new signings when he was speaking to the press today. Now, despite obviously certain media organisations in Rangers fan base trying to keep all this information behind paywalls to stop fans from accessing it, this is what Clement came out and said when he spoke to the media, and obviously gives reference to two players in particular, well, three or four players, and the new signings. And I think you'll all agree that the comments that he makes are a little disappointing, I think. He says we have some players who have come in who are longer term, like Clinton Ciala. He has a lot of talent, but he needs the experience and he needs to learn a lot of things. I don't expect him to be a starting player. Wonderful. Great. Fantastic. We'll get back to that. The same with Hamza Igman. He will not be ready to start. He's never trained or played physically at this level. He comes out of a holiday too, so we need to build him up. We have other players like Connor Barron and Hefte who can get there faster. Okay, we'll go back to that as well. It's not easy to replace 5 players, and Robbie, also without money coming into the club, this is not an easy thing. Very interesting. It is focusing on everyone to get the best out of them. We have players coming back from long-term injury, several in fact. We cannot train them in the same way. Okay, let's take this part of the statement of what he said and look at this. I'm going to start with the third paragraph. This is one of the most interesting for me personally when I read this. He said it's not the first bit that's interesting. It's the last bit of what he said. Without money coming into the club, this is not an easy thing. So this tells me one thing and one thing alone. There is no money to spend, only the money that is generated by selling players. There is no money forthcoming from the board, that the money is purely coming from money that can be raised through selling players. So basically what he's saying is, reading between the lines and reading that statement as it reads, is until we sell, we cannot buy. We have to sell to buy. So unless we can move on several bits of this dead wood at this football club, and I talk about Scott Wright, James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, unpopular, I know, Cyril Dessers, yes, that's going to cause controversy. We don't get new players. We don't get any more new players. We don't get any more new experienced players unless they're out of contract or they're free agents. That's what that says to me. And I might be wrong. I might be massively wrong, and I pray that I am hugely wrong in interpreting what that statement says that way. But to me, it says there is no money, and that the only money we will get to spend on players will what we generate through player sales. So it's quite clear here the board are not financially backing the manager. The board are relying purely on selling the assets we have before we can actually buy new players. And this was meant to be a rebuild. This was meant to be a summer of revolution at Rangers. Revolution? Don't make me laugh. Now, disappointing as well that Ciala is going to be a long-term player, that he is not ready to play. I think there was an element of that perhaps, that he's coming out of the Primavera squad, just like the youth squad of AC Milan. So I suppose there's kind of that element to it. But disappointing, given some of his training footage, and people talk about, how people train. And the fact we've signed no centre-backs other than Ciala, which basically means at this moment in time, our centre-backs consist of Goldson, Suter, Ben Davis, and Leon King and Leon Balogun, which is basically the exact same centre-halves we had last season, who were, at times, fucking awful. Slow on the turn, read the game badly. As for, like Connor Goldson, just genuinely dreadful. I genuinely worry. And now the signing of Igman. Now, Igman, he says he will not be ready. Okay, so why is it other clubs can sign players from the Moroccan leagues, from around the world, and they come in and they're ready and they play? But we seem to find the players who are not ready. Are not ready to play, will need time, can't play, not physically ready, yada, yada, yada. Just us. Only us then. Okay, that's fine. So Igman's not ready. Danilo will not be ready till September, judging by the fact, that he's still obviously getting his match sharpness back. So that means we're stuck with bloody Cyril Dessers, at least for the moment, unless we sell him. Well, I'm sorry, Dessers fans out there. If he's our number 9, starting, leading the line, we do not win the league title this season. Plain and simple. Guy will miss enough chances to cost us points. It also seems as well that he doesn't see Connor Barron as a starter or Hefte as a starter. It seems that only Cortez and Diamande are seen as starters, that both Hefte, which I get because Ridvan is a very good footballer, and I love Ridvan to bits. I think he's a top player. Connor Barron, not a starter? Well, who's better than him? Realistically, who's better than him? Mohamed Diamande, yes, give you that one. Raskin, on his day, I suppose, can be. Tumbleweed. Dujon Sterling can play there, I suppose. But for me, he's a better right back, better defender. So why bringing these players who are not ready? Well, I kind of get it, I suppose. They're bringing them in because they're a future, aren't they? It's the trading model. That's what we brought them in for. And just not an investment bank. No, it's actually a football club, just so they're aware. And it sounds like as well from that statement that we are focusing on actually using the players that we already have at the club to try and make them better and fitter and get them ready for the new season. Well, obviously that's great. That is good news. We do need to get every player ready, every player fully fit, and it's good that obviously they are individually tailoring fitness plans to suit certain players because of the fact they've just come back from injury. I'm frustrated. I'm not trying to be negative here. I don't want to sit here and moan and whine and whinge and whatever. I know, I realise, I get that at the end of the day, we do need to sell players to create space. I get that. It's just frustrating that it seems that it's only going to be money we generate through sales that is going back into player acquisition, that the board don't seem to be so tight-fisted that there's no extra money there. You know what? I'd imagine when Douglas Parkson, whatever he's called, and John Bennett open their wallets, moths probably fly out of them. They probably squeak when they walk, the pair of them. It's worrying. It's exceptionally worrying for me that we're in this position, that we're in a position where we are having to scrimps and save and scuttle around for money and, go down the back of the Ibrox sofa. And the other thing, I know this shouldn't matter, but it pisses me off that it just gives that other side of the city more to laugh at us, to use against us, more ammunition for the other side of the city. And, John Bennett talked about best in class. We are the best. Well, at the moment, John, you're not even the last in class. I'd say that you're probably the even worse than last in class at the moment in terms of the way you run the club and the transfer business. It's genuinely a concern. Genuinely a concern. And what's frustrating, really frustrating, is we've obviously got a very good manager here, a guy who's been linked with the Belgian national job. We've got a very good director of recruitment who knows his apples. He knows where to get players from. He knows how to buy players. He's proved that in the past with PSV Eindhoven. So the direction coming from the football side of things is clearly very good indeed. But it just seems that golden opportunity, that ability to be able to create a legacy, to create a legend, is just being cast away because they're not being fully backed. They're not being given the tools to do the job. Now, if the board want to be looking for a new manager come October, November time, they're going the right way about it, in my opinion. They really are. And you know what, Big Phil, if Belgium came a calling, if Belgium national team offered him a job, he'd be stupid to turn it down. It's stupid to turn it down. Because this board, obviously, do not value him fully. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I really don't. It's just frustrating. Really, really frustrating. And look, I try to turn off the whole fan thing and try to be more objective, but it's hard. It's hard when, when the feeling you get when you read these comments and you read these statements is just pure anger inside, pure frustration, pure just. I don't want to. I try not to swear, but that's where we're at, guys. That's how I feel. And look, I'm sure that I'm going to get a bit accused of being unprofessional and blah de blah. But I don't care. Genuinely don't care because this is the club. This is my club. This is our club. We care. I know John Bennett doesn't. I know the board don't care as long as they keep the money rolling in for themselves. But we care. We care. And we always will, no matter what. Right, guys, thank you for watching. On the way out, please obviously smash that like, help the video to keep on growing. Let's spread the message of how our fans are really feeling. And remember always, please never forget, especially now, more important even so than now, we are the people.